Good day. You are tuned to Your Financial Journey, where planning matters. Brought to you by Risk-Free Solutions, an accredited Old Mutual Agency franchise, with Vernon DeVos and Ethan Black. The show that helps you make quality decisions and thrive. Unpack your future and make it better. Every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. right here on 107.5 FM.
Yeah, it's that time of the afternoon. Lovely to have Windre DeVos in studio with us, and also to be joined by Windre Kammies. We're talking today a little bit about something that most of the time men don't really talk about, talking about prostate cancer. Gentlemen, thanks so much for coming into the studio. Lovely to have you with us.
Yes, thanks, Ethan. It's great to be back in studio. Yeah, I brought Windre with me. Windre is actually one of my managers. And before he took up the management role, he actually was a financial advisor in my space and built up quite a big client base during that time. So welcome, Windre. Nice to have you.
Thanks, Vernon. Hi, Ethan.
Thanks guys for coming in. Windre, I mean, you've decided to broach the topic of prostate cancer. Reason behind that?
Well, Ethan, Vern, the reason behind that is a very personal story to me. I visited a client of mine a few years ago. So he was a client of mine starting off, and young couple in the early 30s, two beautiful children, a boy of 5 years old and a beautiful girl of 11 years old. So I done financial planning and I followed the financial process with him, and I discovered, in fact, that the husband was the sole breadwinner. So the wife was a home executive, so there was only one income stream coming into this family. And Ethan, in my discussion with him, I noted the importance of securing their assets, especially their family home. And you can imagine what the impact would be for that family if the breadwinner should pass away or the breadwinner should suffer severe illness. I should think the impact would be devastating to that particular family. So during my planning exercise, we discussed various risk benefits, and one of the benefits that we discussed was the severe illness benefit. Okay. So fortunately for the client bought from me. So he bought the severe illness benefit from me a few years ago. So the story goes, Ethan and Vernon, during the lockdown, during the very first stages of the lockdown, I think it would be around about in June or July, the client contacted me, phoned me up, he said, "Hey Windre, I need you to come and visit me." Okay, so went to his house, and then he shared with me this bad news. So he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Sure.
Yeah, so like I said, a young couple in the early 30s, two small children, they've got a bond, they've got some debt, and this was devastating to them. But fortunately, he had purchased severe illness from me about 4 years ago or so.
So sorry, man. So how does that work? I mean, can you explain a little bit about how that actually works when you say he purchased severe illness from you? What is that?
So what we done a financial analysis on his risk, and we discovered that he has a need, or he has a shortage of severe illness cover, and then that was the cover that he purchased based on the advice that I gave.
Yeah, so maybe let's just expound a bit on that, Ethan. So when we talk insurance, people understand that if you should die, money would get paid out. If you are involved in an accident and you become disabled, money would pay out.
Yeah.
But severe illness is very specific. It pays out on a diagnosis. So if you are diagnosed with any severe illness, and there's a lot of them, but today we're talking about cancer. If you are diagnosed with cancer, at that point in time on the diagnosis, there is a claim. Money can be paid. Why? Because I think that's the important thing. You can imagine if you are diagnosed, in this instance, with stage 4 cancer, and you're fighting for your life. Eventually your sick leave will run out. Eventually that will happen. So the stress from a financial point of view becomes really, really big. So you're fighting for your life, but yet you're thinking, how do I pay my bond? How do I pay my vehicle? How do I put food on the table? How do I send my kids to school? It becomes really, really hard. So we find that if you have this cover in place, yes, you're still going to fight for your life. You're still going to go through what you have to go through. But from a financial point of view, at least you can pay and cover what you need to be able to get through this.
So it's a bit of a buffer.
It's a buffer. It really is. And in this client's instance, and I'm sure Windre will share a bit more, what the client actually did with that money. So he had the diagnosis, he bought the policy, he bought severe illness, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. On the diagnosis, it triggered a claim, and the claim was honored, the claim was paid out. And maybe Windre, maybe you can share what he did with that money.
Yeah, and so we submitted the claim, and the claim was paid out into the client's bank account. So what the client done was he settled his bond. He settled his home loan. What a relief for himself and for his family. His family wouldn't be out on the street and destitute. And what he also done was, he also settled some other debt that he had. So that is really powerful. Just imagine if they did not have that severe illness cover, what would happen to that family?
Yeah.
And is that like paid out in a lump sum?
Pays out in a lump sum. I remember when I started in the business, it wasn't called a severe illness benefit. It was called a recuperation benefit. And I thought that was quite an interesting way of looking at it. And when I inquired and said, listen, why is it called a recuperation benefit? It was for that very thing. So a lot of people survive their diagnosis, so you get diagnosed with cancer and you survive cancer. It's not necessarily a death sentence, you survive it. But during that period, you recuperate without the financial worry of, I have to pay what I have to pay. You can actually recuperate. You can get yourself back in a position where you can go back to work and you can start providing for your family.
Right. So it could be, in this scenario it was a stage 4, but it could have been a stage 3 or a stage 2 or a stage 1. It would still pay out?
100%. 100%.
Okay, and just explain to me, this is not medical aid.
No, this is not medical aid. This is part of your financial plan. And as Windre so rightly said, can you imagine 4 years ago sitting with that client and saying, listen, we need to do proper financial planning. We need to look at all the different risk areas of your life, and we need to plan for that. And yes, God forbid anything does happen, but the reality in today's life is you need to plan. It's as simple as that. And my encouragement to everybody is, guys, always plan. You don't know what the future holds. And with what Windre did is exactly that. He highlighted the risk areas that the client had. The client had life cover with another insurance company. The client had certain things that were in place, but the thing that he did not have was severe illness. And Windre said, listen, again, you've got all these things in place, but what if this scenario should happen? And an interesting stat with the company that we represent, in 2019, 5.3 billion was paid out in claims. And of the 5.3 billion that was paid out, 49% was for cancer and tumors. 49% of 5.3 billion. So that's
basically half.
That's a huge stat. Just on diagnosis, just on people being diagnosed with severe illness.
So, this is actually quite an important cover that people need to have in place. People are familiar with the death, but this, a lot of people at some point in their life are going to die from something, and potentially from sickness.
100%. So like you said, 49%. So that means we are paying out more in severe illness claims than people dying.
Yeah, because people recover.
And I think that's just the reality of life in where we're living today. You have to just be aware of your risks, and if you're aware of your risks, you need to do something. But this is the month of November, and we actually just to shout out to all the men out there is, you got to be aware of your health. Do everything in your ability to look after yourself, because this is a real thing.
Okay.
In fact, the stats run further. The stats say, from a prostate cancer point of view, that 1 out of every 17 South African men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. That's scary. 1 in every 17. Obviously, if you're older than 50, your chances of getting prostate cancer is a lot bigger. And you don't want to wake up at the stage where you are diagnosed with something and you haven't put the planning in place.
Then it's too late.
Yeah, and that's why we are saying, hey guys, there are products out there, some really, really good products that fit into your financial plan, and something that you have to consider.
All right, we're talking a little bit about prostate cancer, about looking after your health, and we're talking with Windre in studio with us, Windré Kammies, as well as Vernon de Vos. If you want to find out more information about, for example, looking out for your health, we're talking to them, and risk-free solutions is definitely the way to go. We'll be back in a moment.
Good day. You are tuned to Your Financial Journey, where planning matters. Brought to you by Risk-Free Solutions, an accredited Old Mutual Agency franchise, with Vernon DeVos and Ethan Black. The show that helps you make quality decisions and thrive. Unpack your future and make it better. Every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. right here on 107.5 FM. You are listening to Your Financial Journey, where planning matters. Brought to you by Risk-Free Solutions, an accredited Old Mutual Agency franchise. The show that helps you make quality decisions and thrive.
It's the month of November, so we're talking a little bit about financial planning, risk planning when it comes to dealing with prostate cancer. I think it's a big issue for men. We were listening earlier about 1 in 17 South Africans, males diagnosed with it, and I'm sure that number actually shoots up because the older you get, the higher your risk is at that point in time. Maybe you can just explain to me, I'll play the dummy in the room, what's the difference between, again, a severe illness and medical aid? Maybe Vernon, you can give us the answer.
Okay, thanks. You sure you don't want to take this one, Ray?
No, I'm good, thanks, man.
Okay, so I think everybody understands what a medical aid is. Medical aid, the insurer, which is whoever your medical aid is, will pay the hospital and the doctors directly. So they will pay that for you.
Right.
They will cover the cost, your medical cost. Then you have gap cover, and that covers the difference between what your medical aid would pay versus what the doctor charges. That's called gap cover.
Right.
So it's very specific. Very specific. Severe illness is not that. Severe illness is there to help you from an income point of view, from a debt point of view. Let me explain. So what we do as far as the financial planning process goes, we will ask the question. We'll say to the client, if you are diagnosed with a severe illness or cancer, what debt needs to be settled? So a lot of people will say, if my bond can be settled, that would be good.
That would be great.
That'd be great. Then we would take it a bit further. We would say, but also you need an income during that time. Maybe 6 months. I normally recommend a year's income.
Okay.
Because think about it. Eventually your sick leave will run out. Your income will stop. If you are going through chemotherapy and all the tough stuff of being diagnosed with cancer, you need a long time to recover. And you need to bridge that. And that is where your severe illness benefit kicks in. It can cover the bond, and it could buy you a year's income so that you can fight this thing and you can recover. And that would be the difference.
Okay. Yes, probably a silly question, and that's well explained. Thank you. But somebody calls you, says, give me a quote. Is it expensive?
Well, that would depend. So there's a lot involved. So there's no straightforward answer. I think rather phone, inquire, rather let us quote you. But more importantly, it's not about quoting, because I want to steer away from that. I rather want to say, let's look at your financial situation and let's look at it holistically. And then let's make some good decisions as far as the money that you will be spending or the money that you are spending. Let's make some really good decisions with that money. Again, and I want to go back to Windre's story, because for me, Windre's story is an important story. Because he did not know that night when he was going to do financial planning that this very client was going to be diagnosed with cancer. He did not know that. What he did know was, I need to do my job. I need to make the client aware. I need to give the client all the options. And whether the client says yes or no is irrelevant. He's got to do his job as the financial planner and make the client aware of the risk. From there, the client then decides, is it for me or isn't it for me? Again, from Windre's point of view, he can stress the importance of it, because he can call the stats. He can say, listen, 1 in 17 men. He can call the stats. 49% of our claims last year was just in severe illness. He can call those stats. But at the end of the day, the client will have to make the decision.
Yeah.
And I mean...
and I imagine looking at the person's medical history and the family history, I mean, you've got to bear all of these things in mind. You might be at a higher risk, and if you're just the only sole breadwinner, then this might really be something that you need.
Perfect.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, I mean, we're talking specifically about prostate cancer this month. So guys that are listening now, it's not something that is often talked about. We don't go and research these things until alarm bells. You know, you go to the doctor, oh, doc, this and this, and then all of a sudden the doctor says, no, hang on, we need to do a further test. And then you go, oh my word. Then you only go and start to look up the symptoms or the risks or that type of thing. So prostate cancer, I mean, you know, what are some of the symptoms?
Well, Ethan, the most common symptom would be frequent urination or going to the toilet a lot, especially at night.
Right.
That's one of the most common symptoms. And then also straining to urinate. That will be an alarm bell. That will be a red flag to say
Struggling to urinate.
Yeah. That will be an alarm bell for you to go see a doctor. And then also painful or burning sensation when passing urine.
Mm-hmm.
Blood in the urine.
Always an alarm bell there, I think.
Yeah, I think
I'll freak
definitely.
out.
And then also a deep pain in the lower back when you also passing urine. That's also a red flag for you.
Yeah. So I want to maybe share a personal story quickly, Ethan. So a lot of people don't know, but 5 years ago, I did not have prostate cancer, but I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. And so this journey in Movember is very personal for me because I actually lived this 5 years ago. And very much what Windre is saying, you know, you actually have to look out for the symptoms. And in my instant was a lump. And I also thought, should I leave it? Should I ignore it? And this little voice inside of me said, no, you can't. You better check it out, you know. And I did that. And lo and behold, it was testicular cancer.
Sure.
And I had to walk a road with that, you know. So even although we talk about severe illness, I've lived this. I've lived it, and I've experienced going through all the struggles and the trauma of it, and how important it is to have the cover in place to be able to assist you, to be able to get through it, mainly from a psychological point of view. Why do I say that? Because I think for myself, I knew the health issue, you know, was there, but I did not want the financial worries. Because imagine putting the two together. It's you know, you're battling this side, but now you have the financial issue on the side. It's not a good combination. So where the severe illness comes in, it takes care of the one side, which is the financial side, so that you can focus 100% on your health and getting back to where you need to get to.
Yeah, getting better.
And
so
that's my personal story regarding this.
I mean, also when you hit a man hard, you're hitting him where you know, he's trying to put bread on the table, and also with his family now, he's worrying about all the debt, and also about getting well, and just as you say, that mental strain on a person. It's no joke. Thanks for sharing that story. We'll be back with closing thoughts. If you want to get in touch with them, maybe I would recommend getting all the risk-free solutions, having a discussion with them around financial planning, particularly at this season. We'll come back with closing thoughts.
You are listening to Your Financial Journey, where planning matters. Brought to you by Risk-Free Solutions, an accredited Old Mutual Agency franchise. The show that helps you make quality decisions and thrive.
It's Movember month, so we're talking a little bit about prostate cancer. I think so often we don't discuss these things. It's sort of behind closed doors, but we wanted to just sort of bring it out into the open. Vernon also sharing his journey. Thanks so much for that, Vernon. Risk-Free Solutions, Windre also in studio. Just a quick reminder, I mean, you take out this kind of cover before you're sick, right?
Yeah, definitely. You have to be healthy.
All right. And obviously the younger, the better, because at that point in time, most guys, when they're young, they're fairly healthy. And the older you get, you pick up all these little niggles and problems and that type of a thing.
Correct.
How do I reduce my risk when it comes to looking after my health?
Well, Ethan, healthy living, I would say. Eat healthily, eat less red meat, and less high-fat dairy products is one of the things you can do to reduce your risk. Reduce your alcohol intake, Ethan, and maintain healthy weight. That's always good, and avoid smoking. And then if you're over 45, I would suggest go see your doctor, have regular checks, annual checks, maybe biannual checks, and look after yourself.
Yeah, no. This time around, doctors, it's not just sort of the investigations, they can also just do blood tests these days. It's not that uncomfortable where there could be sort of a body search, if I can put it that way. But go and do it regularly. And we're often told about these things and we ignore it, but we get to that point where alarm bells ring. So, Windre, thanks for reminding us. Maybe you can wrap it up for us, Vernon.
Yes, I think when it comes to insurance, and it's particularly severe illness, I think there's two things we must remember. You buy insurance with two things. You buy it with money and you buy it with your health. If you don't have money, unfortunately, you can't get it. And the other things, if you don't have your health, you can't get it. So while you're young and while you are healthy, buy the cover. You don't know what will happen going forward. Because remember, if you buy it when you're young and healthy, you have the cover. If something happens, you are covered. You know, I've been in the business for a long time now, and a lot of people phone me and they say, Vernon, you know what, this has happened to me. I've been diagnosed with this. I've been diagnosed with that. I need to look at insurance. And I mean, and obviously I try my best to get them cover, and we will definitely go out of our way to see if we can assist and help clients. It either becomes very expensive for them because the premium gets loaded, or they are declined. But the reality is buy it when you're young and healthy, while you have money and while you have your health, buy it. And I would encourage our listeners, you know, we have a website called www.riskfreesolutions.co.za. There is an email address linked to it where you can pop us an email and we can get hold of you. We can contact you. We can have this discussion with you, like Windre did with his client 4 or 5 years ago. We can have that discussion. We can look at what options are available. But remember, money and your health, those are the two triggers to getting cover.
Thank you for the advice. Thank you for sharing your personal journeys. And we look forward to connecting with you again next week, same time, around about 4:30, Thursday afternoon, with Vernon de Vos, Risk-Free Solutions. Today talking about prostate cancer. And don't make those decisions too late. Make those decisions now. Make that planning happen. Guys, thanks for your time.
Thanks Ethan. Thank you very much. Thanks, Windre.
You have been listening to Your Financial Journey, where planning matters. Brought to you by Risk-Free Solutions, an accredited Old Mutual Agency franchise. Tuning weekly to the show that leads the way so that no one gets left behind. Every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. right here on 107.5 FM.